This is the DTV Digest, the podcast that brings you news and reviews of films which didn't make it to the cinema. And now, here's your host, Mike Parkin.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the DTV Digest. I'm your host, Mike Parkin, and join me, as usual, are Richard Hawes.
Hello, everyone.
And Stephen Lockridge.
Hello.
This week, we've got four main reviews. We're going to kick off with Aaron Eckhart in Chief of Station. Then we have The Prank, the Norwegian/Danish film Birthday Girl, and What Remains. Our short shot is The Spider, and then we're going to round off with Samurai Cop 2 as our DTV throwback. So, without further ado, let's crack on. Our first film then is Chief of Station. After learning that the death of his wife was not an accident, a former CIA station chief is forced back into the espionage underworld, teaming up with an adversary to unravel a conspiracy that challenges everything he thought he knew. Okay then, so latest film from Jesse V. Johnson, always something to look forward to. Does not disappoint here. We have Aaron Eckhart, of course, hot on the heels of The Bricklayer, playing a kind of similar role here. He's sort of slipped into his dad thriller niche now, hasn't he? I think, following in the footsteps of Muzzle and The Bricklayer. Now this one, he's got that sort of grizzled, sort of tough guy thing going, sort of the more, not as down and dirty as Jason Statham, of course, but willing to throw down in a suit, basically, is this guy. We've also got the likes of Olga Kurylenko, who was obviously in Jesse Johnson's previous film, Boudica. We've also got Alex Pettyfer in there, and I was really pleased to see Nick Moran getting to play with a bit of an accent in this one as well. He gets a sort of few decent scenes, like at the casino and things like that. I think he was really, really good in this. Overall, this was pretty decent. It looks a bit blandish at times, but I did like it. It sort of cracks it on at a fair pace once it gets going. Steve, what did you make of Chief of Station?
Yeah, pretty much what you said. I mean, it takes about 10 minutes to get going, but after that, it's just, let's balls to the wall. Let's go for it. And I was actually quite surprised with the caliber of the cast on this, to be fair.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of went in blind. I just knew Aaron Eckhart was in it, and then, Nick Moran. It took me a while to realise it was Nick Moran, to be fair. With that tash.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, the accent's it's a bit all over the place, but it kind of fits. And then Olga Kurylenko turned up quite near the end, to be fair. I mean,
she comes in quite late and then basically just kicks everyone's ass, doesn't she? So the action sort of ramps up a lot when she suddenly turns up. Yeah.
But I can't, it's like Mission Impossible light in a way, You know what's coming. You know who's the bad guy and what's going to happen.
Unfortunately, we are so jaded, the likes of you and I and Rich. We've seen so many of these films. And we're tagging people as they turn up on screen. Yep, he's the baddie. That guy, he's a red herring. All this. We just know. Oh yeah, he's going to get kidnapped and held for ransom. All of it. We just kind of know.
I mean, and I say that's the only thing that kind of lets it down, really, because it's done well, but it's nothing that we haven't seen a million times before.
Indeed.
Yep. But, it's enjoyable.
Very much so. And Rich, what did you make of Chief of Station?
Yeah, I think it's good. It sort of leans back into sort of Cold War spy movie kind of style at times, but with a very much a contemporary kind of John Wick influence, very apparent. The we get it's it's at its heart it's a thriller, sort of a revenge story, quite a standard procedural sort of investigation as he tries to uncover the truth of what happened to his wife. We get it, all the we get the Jesse Johnson kind of staples in there, like you say. You've mentioned Nick Moran and Olga Kurylenko.
The one I didn't mention, of course, was Daniel Bernhardt.
Yeah, who's one of the sort of side villains in the story, and Nina Bergman from Hell Hath No Fury.
Oh, of course, yeah.
In there as well, in a sort of a key sort of cameo role, essentially. I was quite surprised at how late Olga Kurylenko shows up, because she is quite highly billed on the film, and it's like, well, it is practically an hour before she makes her entrance. Although I think they do tease her towards the beginning. She's playing a Polish Grom agent called Christina Kowarski, and she sort of comes in and does a little bit of a team up thing. She and Eckhart previously made a film called The Expatriate, which I haven't seen.
Yes. Now, funny enough, I was going to mention that one because there are, it does feel quite similar.
Because they're both European set.
That's it. I don't think he was an agent or something, but he wakes up one day and all his bank accounts and everything have been cleared out, and his whole identity's been erased off the system and stuff like this. Yeah, that was quite a good one.
Yeah, in the States they did release. I think, I'm not sure if it was the original title, but it's known as Erased over there, and we had it as the
Expatriate.
Alex Pettyfer's in this, which is, I quite like him. I'm always quite interested to see him turn up in stuff. He's got another film out that I want to see. I think it's called Black Noise or something. But it's quite funny to, when he made his debut as this like, handsome young boy in the Stormbreaker movie and stuff, and then he's kind of become this like bearded sort of buff sort of grizzly guy. Was quite an interesting transformation that he's made. There's a
really good scene sort of around about the middle part of the film where he's torturing Aaron Eckhart's character, and even then you're not sure whether or not you don't know if he's an actual baddie or if he's actually a CIA guy just using extreme means to finish off a case. Because he just wants, he's after a bit of information that he thinks this guy's got. So, this is the tools I've got. I'm going to torture you.
Yeah, I'll be honest, that scene was absolutely fucking brutal. I couldn't watch it. Oh, it was awful. But yeah,
good. It was a good scene, and he, because he's so unemotional in that scene. It's all about pushing to get the information. That's all he's interested in. He doesn't care about this guy screaming in front of him or anything like that. It's just like, where's the information that I need? How do I get it? Yeah, it was a good scene. As I say, they could have played it like either way. Either yes, he's just the out and out bad guy, or he's he's still working for the company, but just using extreme means. So it played it really well, I thought, in that part.
Yeah, we've also there's some other people in the car. Well, James Faulkner appears in it as well, who was in Boudica and various other things, including The Devil Conspiracy, which I know you saw recently, Mike.
Yes, that's good though. Yeah.
The only other thing I want to comment on really is the action, which I thought it's fine, and there's some nice moments, but there is a car chase that basically happens around a deserted industrial location, which just is like something it's the kind of thing you see in a movie that really doesn't have any money to film on streets and stuff. So it's like they enclosed area, no other vehicles around, and it's it's very low stakes. It's fine, it's shot okay. But there was a Steven Seagal film called Out for a Kill, which basically did the same thing, and it just sort of it's it just looks run down, and you want a bit more from a car chase. I think there's nothing to. I think there's an interesting car flip, if I recall correctly.
There is, interesting car flip. But I mean, you compare that with, for example, the scene in The Bricklayer. Where there's sort of there's a car chase in that, or even going back to Jesse Johnson stuff. The Fifth Commandment, where there's a really good car chase in what is essentially quite a low budget film. They did manage to do a really good like car chase through a marketplace, sort of tables and chairs flying and all sorts. So you can do it. It just I guess they just couldn't get the permits or something, or
it could be that. Say it might be budgets are tighter, or the money just doesn't go as far in Europe as it does in Thailand or stuff. The what was the other thing I was going to say? At the start of the movie, loads of like production and financing company credits listed as like a massive rift. I mean, getting none of them, which I don't think any of them I recognised. There wasn't any sort of familiar. So really unusual to see something it looks like it was basically scraped together from so many different outfits to come together as as a standard fully polished Jesse V. Johnson kind of movie. But I think it shows that he's still having to, despite his reputation and what he's delivering regularly, he still has to go to all these different, or not necessarily him, but his producers stuff still have to go to all these different people to try and get these movies made. It's not like they haven't just hooked up with one of the studios, or even one of them bigger lower budget play. I mean, there's not even a Bondit Media Capital or a Highland Media Group involved. Well, they're quite reliable.
It does, sort of thing. It does dishearten me a bit when you see some of these production companies and they've still got things like finance or capital in their titles. You know what I mean? Because it just sort of betrays the fact that we're only in it to make money. We're only in it to make to make a profit out of this somehow. It says nothing about the artistry or anything like that. It's just like, no, this is just a business venture to make money. And it's really disheartening a bit to sort of see that. I mean, we know that's what it all is, but it's just there in the title, never mind. Right, how are we going to score this one? Over to Steve.
I'll give it a 7.
I believe it is a very solid 7. And Rich?
Yeah, solid 7 from me.
Solid 7 from you as well. 3 7s for Chief of Station. Go check it out. Our next film is The Prank. In their seemingly ordinary senior year at West Greenway High, the unexpected unfolds when overachiever Ben and his carefree bestie Tanner decide to exact revenge on their strict physics teacher, Mrs. Wheeler. Physics teacher? I thought she was chemistry teacher. Never mind. Okay, science teacher. Let's call her a science teacher. The science teacher, Mrs. Wheeler. That fits. Okay, I did get a lot of enjoyment out of this, I must admit. It's interesting that the main guy, he kind of reminded me of a young American version of Chris Addison, for one thing, which I thought was quite amusing. The girl in it, just bear with 2 secs. She's been in loads of good stuff, and she is a good actress. She was in Never Have I Ever, which is one of the best things that Netflix has done. She was also in the Santa Clarita Diet, which is another best thing that Netflix has done. It's 2 very good series, among other things. So very, very good, talented actress, sort of very amusing. This basically, Steve, it's kind of, I want to say it, but it may spoil things a little bit. So I can't say it. I'll have to say it. I'll say it to you off air.
Okay.
But anyway, the setup for this is somebody has cheated in this woman's class. She's found out about it, but she doesn't know who it is. So she's going to fail everyone in the class. Our hero Ben is, he needs this grade in order to apply for this scholarship or something. So he and his best friend, she comes up with a way of like pranking the teacher by accusing her of murdering a student who disappeared like years before or something like that. And it goes onto the internet and everything. The rumor starts building up. They think it'll just like last a day and then it'll disappear. And, we accuse the teacher of murder, blah, blah, blah. But it doesn't go away. It escalates and all this sort of stuff. I did like this a lot. I thought it was quite amusing. Not outright funny as such, but I did like the characters. But it did remind me of an old 80s film, is all I'll say. But yeah, there you go. We've got like the likes of Keith David in this as well.
Well, no, you got Rita Moreno as well.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
You got an EGOT winner.
Indeed. Yes, of course. Yeah. She got the lot.
Yeah, and it. To be fair, I enjoyed it. It's. I think I know what you're going to say. What it reminded you of, but I can't put my finger on it. But he reminded me of like a young, like a Michael Cera type character, but she reminds me of like a young Aquafina in a way.
Yeah. Ramona Young is the actress we're talking about. Yeah, she is very good. As I said, she got a couple of really good series under her belt. So yeah.
Well, I mean, it's done well. It's funny, but it's one of them. Again, I don't want to say this again, but you've seen it you've seen it before. You know what's coming, where it's coming, how it's going to end up. It's pretty obvious, but it's entertaining. It's not boring. It's one of them. You know exactly what's coming, even from the first 5 minutes.
There's another film. Do you remember? There was another film we covered a while back, which had quite a famous guy in it, and I can't remember who it is. And it's about these two guys who were pranking this guy into thinking that his house was haunted or something.
Ooh.
And they put like cameras in his house and things like this. And I can't remember the name of the actor that was in it.
Oh God, no.
It wasn't Danny Glover. It wasn't Richard Dreyfuss. But it was somebody of that caliber. Can you remember, Rich?
Can't. I'm racking my brains trying to think of what it might be.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank. I'll be honest.
I remember it because it surprised. It did surprise us how it ended up. But yeah, it was these two guys that set up this guy's house.
So was it a new one or a throwback?
No, it was new at the time.
New at the time, okay.
Yeah, have a little think. See if you remember what it is. Yeah, no, I did like this. I think if I was a bit younger, I might have got into it a bit more.
Yeah.
But as you say, we've been around the block. We've talked about this already. We've been around the block. It's not surprising us. But I credit where credit's due. I watched the whole thing. I enjoyed the whole thing. I enjoyed the characters. Especially even the side characters.
The kids in the class and stuff like that.
That was
they
all
were
good stuff.
funny.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, overall, really enjoyed it. How are you going to score it?
Again, I think I'll go with 7.
Yeah, definitely a solid 7. It's something like Bad Neighbors or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, 2 7s for The Prank. Go check it out. Our next film is Birthday Girl. Nana has invited her daughter Celia and her best friend to celebrate Celia's 18th birthday on a cruise ship bound for the Caribbean. But the first evening of the dream vacation itself turns into a nightmare. I was hoping this would be something supernatural, Steve. Reading that, I think,
Yeah.
ooh, what is it going to be? Ghost slasher or something like that? No, it's a fucking date rape movie. Oh god, oh god, oh god.
Yeah.
Right. So, Celia's 18th birthday.
And hang on, obviously, it kicks off in media res.
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's that sort of in media res where you can't really see what's going on.
No.
So it's just like, well, this is a waste of time.
Yeah.
So we have Nana, who's she's got a daughter who's literally just turning 18 on the first night of this cruise. She, she's a kind of, she wants to be the cool mum. She's divorced from her husband, who Celia lives with because he's got more room. Although she's trying to entice her to sort of come live with her, but she wants to be the cool mum. So they go to the bar, she buys the drinks, all this sort of stuff because she's 18, even though it's like, it's a Caribbean cruise, so they've got an age limit of 21. She heads back to her room, and then sometime during the night she gets a knock on the door saying her daughter's been found unconscious. Her friend had just gone back to bed and left her wherever, and it sort of slowly comes to light that she'd been sexually assaulted while drunk, and Nana kicks off big style, trying to sort of find out who did it,
basically no one else gives a flying fuck.
No one gives a flying fuck, and it's all it's very unfortunate. It is very endemic. It's a case of oh, wait, were you drinking? What were you wearing? It's that sort of thing. All this sort of bollocks. And oh, boys will be boys. It's that kind of attitude, but she keeps pushing and pushing and pushing, until she does manage to confront somebody. And I have to say, the ending is incredibly bleak. It's just like it not so much what happens, it's the aftermath. And having to deal with it, basically. It's pretty nasty. There's not really a lot to say about this. It is a damning indictment of the sort of that sort of victim blaming, slut shaming, all that sort of stuff. I think it handles it quite well.
To me, I don't know. To me, it didn't. I mean, especially in today's world, would it be handled like this? I really don't think it would.
I don't know.
I think to me, it's more like a throwback to. If it was set in the 80s, yeah, I get it. Even the 90s, I get it. Nowadays, I mean, and I think that's the frustration with the film is, to me, is like I said, nobody gives a shit. Nobody does anything. I mean, all right, there's not wrong, but things from both sides where she could have dealt with it better, they could have dealt with it better.
Oh, yeah.
But and it was just frustrating. Like, we're in.
I think that's kind of the point, though. I think you're meant to feel frustrated by it.
Yeah, I think you are, but I mean, it's like the point. There's one line that really fucking pissed me off is where they turn around and say, "Well, basically, when we dock in the Bahamas, whoever it is just going to fuck off, and there's nothing we can do about it." And it's like, there is.
He's still going to get back on the boat to come back.
Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah.
You could perhaps get hold of the authorities or something and say, "Oh yeah, we got a rapist on board. Could you help?" Or anything like that. But at the same time, I can kind of there is that mentality. It's like, well, I'm the captain of a cruise ship. I've got to sort of maintain the status quo and all the rest of it, and morale. I'm, if I can, I'm going to downplay this as much as possible. The woman's acting hysterical. The daughter doesn't want anything to happen to. She wants to bury it for a bit. But then the video comes out and all this sort of stuff, and it's like, yeah, okay, yeah. But I certainly don't agree with it. But I can certainly see the circumstances where they would be trying to, downplay it or dismiss it as much as possible. Yeah. But yeah. Anyway, this is grim.
Yeah.
Well-made film, but other than that, don't want to go too much into what happens. But it's a Pyrrhic victory. I think it's dining on ashes and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
How are you gonna score it, Steve?
It is well done, but it's a bit too much of a morality tale in a way.
Yeah.
I'll give it a 6.
Yeah, I'll join you on a 6 for this one. Yeah, 2 6s for Birthday Girl. Go check it out. Our final main review is What Remains. At a Scandinavian psychiatric hospital, an uneasy triumvirate of multiple murderer Mads, therapist Anna, and policeman Soren all have a vested interest in unearthing the truth, and a deepening codependency threatens to consume them all. Okay, I mean, I like Nordic noir films. I like films from the Scandinavia, police procedurals, that sort of thing. Usually very meticulous, very atmospheric. But this, oh God, I mean, this is testing your patience.
It's so fucking depressing, and what I don't see the point. It's one of them where even at the end, nothing's fucking happened. Honestly,
this yeah. So this reminded me of the director of Cash. What was his name?
Michael Haneke.
Michael Haneke. I hate fucking Michael Haneke's films. I really hate them.
I thought you were gonna. I thought you were gonna say Lars von Trier for a second.
Well, he's another one. Yeah, Lars von Trier. The whole. What's his thing that he does?
Dogma.
Dogma 24, whatever it's called. Fucking, let's strip sort of filmmaking down to its most basic parts and deconstruct everything. Part of the box. Anyway,
I want to go that far because, to be fair, it's slightly well shot and it's quite atmospheric.
No. Yeah. Oh, no, you're right, but it's just stultifyingly dull. Is what it is, and that's where Michael Haneke comes in, basically.
Yeah.
Tell
me about the Skarsgårds, because there's Stellan's in this one, and one of his other sons, because there's another Skarsgård brother that I wasn't aware of. I think it's Gustav, isn't it?
Gustav, yeah.
So tell me about their performances.
Right. So to be fair, I'll be honest. The performances are good. Right? There's no. I mean, Angie Riceberg, I didn't even recognise it was her, to be fair. But
is it in English? Is the film in English? Or
it is in English.
Uh-huh.
It is in English. But they've all got like the Nordic accents and stuff like that. But it's just so slow, grim, so depressing. So when it kicks off, you've got this Mads who's coming out of supposed to be released from a psychiatric facility, and he's looking at renting a flat. Now he's looking at it on the black market. He gets to his lift, and straight away this bloke just fucking, who's supposedly like the estate agent, mugs him for his money and fucks off. Gets a knife to his throat in the lift, nicks his money, runs off. It just goes grimmer from there. Because you're thinking, all right, he's in the psychiatric hospital. There's maybe some issue. It turns out he's like a mass murderer who's been abused by his father. So Angie Riseborough is like psychiatrist.
Psychiatrist, yeah.
Stellan Skarsgård is this copper because he kind of admits to another murder that's never been solved. It's like, oh shit, yeah, it was me. And it's just so it's like misery porn. It's so depressing.
Because he doesn't know, doesn't he, as well, on top of it. You're not, he's sort of doubting himself whether or not he's remembering stuff that he actually did, or if he's remembering stuff he'd heard about, and things. And that's kind of where Stellan Skarsgård comes in, because he's trying to sort of, close these cases.
It's one of them where everyone has got major, like she's trying to get pregnant, and he's lost his daughter through divorce and alcoholism, and he's just someone smile, just smile for once. And even goes to like this Mads's brother, how the press are just hounding him and just destroying his life because the press are just all over him. And it was so tedious and boring and grim. I mean, like when he's talking about the sexual abuse and stuff, and you think, right, okay, that's gonna elicit some emotion from you as you're watching it.
Oh no, they've all been injected with Botox. There's not a single wrinkle.
It's not so much that. It just doesn't, because it's so grim and depressing. It doesn't do anything to you as you're watching. You're just like, well, yeah, all right, fair enough. Yeah, that's probably what happened. Yeah. There's no shock value in it. There's no disgust or any. Oh, it was just so tedious and boring.
He dodged the bullets, Rich, on this one.
Yeah, big style.
Yeah, absolutely dodged the bullet.
Yeah, it's disappointing to hear, because it looked very promising from the outside. Just I was only basing it on the cast and the poster and stuff, and and the fact that it's getting a cinema release as well, because this is an interesting one where it's a streaming premiere. It's like one of these, like Amazon get a film, or Sky or something, get a film. But what they've done here is, this is the Icon Film Channel, and Icon have put this out, and they're putting it on their streaming channel first, and then it's going to get a cinema release like in a few weeks' time, which they also did with films like Project Wolf Hunting, which was a really good caliber film. So I was hoping for something quite promising here.
No,
I mean, if you look at it, I mean, again, it was made 2 years ago, so they must have been sitting on it for a while. Well, a couple of years, but I don't know. I don't know what anyone would get from it. I really don't.
No, it's we've seen a lot better, I have to say. We have, but this doesn't do it for me at all, unfortunately. No. So there you have it. Rich, sorry, do it again. There you have it. Steve, what are you going to score it?
4.
Yeah, 4. No, just no. And I do like Scandinavian films. I like the the Keeper of Lost Secrets and that sort of thing, the Hypnotist, all that good stuff. But this one, just no. So there you have it. 2 4s for What Remains. Go check it out. Our short shot this week is The Spider. This is a horrifying retelling of the effects of a radioactive spider biting a certain Peter Parker. So imagine if David Cronenberg had basically made Spider-Man. You might get something a little bit like this. So even that first bit, the whole thing, like oh, he can crawl up walls. How can he crawl up walls? Oh, his hands and feet can stick to the walls. That's interesting. Okay, and then we get this scene of this guy trying to rob him, and he basically rips the skin off his hand. Because he's sort of stuck to it. I thought that was, that was a good, setting your tent stall up and going, yep, this ain't Marvel. And it was just really good. I just wish we had more of it. I mean, it was such a quick run through all these little scenes, just hinting at sort of stuff, but it does such a good job of using the characters. Even J. Jonah Jameson's in there on the TV. I thought that was a great little bit. Thoroughly enjoyed this. Steve, over to you.
It's basically Spider-Man, but if he didn't turn into Spider-Man and turn into
a man spider.
But it's done really well. What surprised me is Chandler Riggs.
He really looks like a Peter Parker, doesn't he? He was perfectly cast.
I believe he's from The Walking Dead.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't know who he was, but as soon as you see him, go, "Yep, that's Peter Parker," because he just fits the archetype so well.
Yeah, he's Carl from The Walking Dead. It's Rick Grimes' son. And I was like,
"Oh right, I'm really surprised. Looks completely different."
I was like, "Is that him?" I'm sure that's him. But he plays it really well, and it's done really well. I mean, it does remind you of like the original Spider-Man films, especially when he's running off the rooftops and finding his powers or whatever, and then it just takes that dark twist and goes downhill for him.
It's that good sort of moment in there. It's like the exhilaration of like, I've got these powers. I can jump, I can climb, and then all of a sudden he's puking his guts out. His teeth are falling out. It's a good little moment. Yeah.
But I mean, like, did you watch it right to the end?
I think so.
At the credits as well.
Yeah, well, maybe I skip the credits. Why? There's a bit at the end.
There's a bit at the end.
Post-credit scene.
I should know by now. Always wait till the end.
Again, I thought it was done really well. The effects, I think, are done really well as well. And it just... That last scene is the icing on the cake, I'll be honest.
I'm watching it now. Well, yeah, I can kind of guess what's coming.
Yeah.
Because it is like one of the most iconic moments in, the original sort of Spider-Man, isn't it? Yeah. Genius.
But yeah, it's to be fair, it's a real good idea. I mean, the only thing I can think of that's kind of like this is, say, Man-Bat from the DC comics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just thought it was done really, really well. And is it only like 9 minutes? But it's still
really,
they
cover
really
a lot of ground. Yeah, they cover a lot of ground. Yeah. Rich, I know you've been waiting for this one for a while, and I mean, this is one which quite unusual for a short film to make quite a splash into sort of mainstream, some media news and things. It did get
5 million views. It's had so far over 5 million views.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's when you do something about. I mean, there are so many Spider-Man fan films out there.
Yeah,
but when you do something that's a little bit different, I mean, the previous Spider-Man film to get a lot of chatter was the feature-length one, which was made by the guy who was apparently racist. So
we covered that one, didn't we? That's one we covered.
We did talk about that one, and I think that was the last one that really had a lot of talk about it. But this one, I think, because of the horror theme, it got some attention. But it might well have been also based on the director's previous films,
Now,
because
Andy
director
Chen.
Andy Chen, who
Yeah. Now we've covered at least one of his films before, which was The Gateway Drug.
yes, which was
And
very good. That
which was
was one of his
very good. Yeah, yeah.
original
Really enjoyed
stories.
that. Yeah.
But we also covered Fiona, which was his Shrek horror.
Oh
fan film.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was a good one.
So yeah, he's done a similar thing, a little bit slightly more elaborated, bit more of a running time for this one. But yeah, Gateway Drug is well worth seeing if anyone hasn't seen that.
If you've seen the film Talk to Me, it sort of runs a similar idea, but basically jaded kids using the supernatural for kicks, kind of scenario. But it's definitely worth seeing. Yeah.
And the comedy, like the crime comedy Crooks, is also very worth checking out. Again, I think that's another one that we covered. So yeah, he's one of my favorite directors. I thought he did a nice job with this one.
Yeah.
Now you say you guys were talking about you'd like to see this sort of fleshed out. Well, there actually is a film that has done this, but without the IP, basically. In the same way that kind of David Cronenberg remade The Fly and he turned it into this body horror monster movie, and that is kind of what he's done with this one. He's kind of said this is called The Spider, so it's as much an homage to The Fly as it is to Spider-Man, because it's essentially a mashup.
Yeah.
Well, there was a remake of an old sci-fi B movie called Earth versus the Spider, which was made for like a TV. I think it might have been cable TV. We had it on DVD over here. Came out in like 2001. Had Dan Aykroyd was a supporting player in it, but essentially what they did with that film was ignored the film that it was based on and made a film that was okay. So what if a young guy who gets bitten by a spider, he's a comic book fan, he wants to be a superhero, but he turns into a monster. So it's essentially the same idea. It's made by Scott Zeal, who directed films like Roadhouse 2, which I'm a fan of. So it's not great. It's not great. It's say I haven't seen it for many years, but I remember being a little bit disappointed by it. But it's quite interesting in it, the concept and what it was trying to do. Say having Dan Aykroyd in there, Teresa Russell's in there as well. If you can find it, because it might be floating around somewhere. I don't know if it's streaming or anything, but if you're interested in this kind of idea of Spider-Man as a horror film, like that's as close as you're going to get, really, without it being official. But I thought what was interesting about this one was, to a degree, this could have been what Sam Raimi did.
Yeah.
He could have, if they'd have really leaned into the horror, he would have done like this kind of approach, I think, made it obviously a bit more wild and stuff. But I think the touches are there. So I think there's a little bit of Sam Raimi in here and a lot of David Cronenberg. And it was good. I love, it's got all the sort of the key characters, like you say, J. Jonah Jameson. There's a couple of others who appear in it at times, but it's a very quick sort of.
It's a quick run through of his origin story.
It's sort of, you get the spider bite thing, which is like right before the title, very quick flashes into the sort of getting his powers, transformation starts kind of thing, and then skips basically right to the end, and so we get like a complete story told with a little bit of with an epilogue sort of post-credit scene added in. So yeah, I think it's well deserving of the attention that it's been getting, and if anyone hasn't seen it yet, should definitely go check it out.
As a little segue, did you guys ever see the Jack Black skit that he did for MTV Movie Awards?
No.
Which is basically they used footage from the original Spider-Man, like the transformation bit, when he's going through, but it's Jack Black instead of Elijah. Who was it? It wasn't Elijah Wood. Tobey Maguire, and it is brilliant. You probably can find it on YouTube, but it's like him designing his outfit and then writing on it, can it be more gay looking and all this sort of stuff. And the whole thing with the secretions coming out of her is yeah, juvenile but very funny. Very well done. Anyway, we don't score the shorts, but we do recommend you check them out. And you'll find a link to this in the footnotes below. While you're there checking this one out, please check out Andy Chen's other films. As we've said, we've reviewed a few of them before, like The Gateway Drug and Fiona, Crooks. Really, really good stuff. You're welcome, basically.
His channel's called Locust Garden.
That's it.
Locust Garden, I think it's called.
It is, yeah. And you'll be able to find it pretty easy. Yeah, onwards and upwards. Our DTV throwback this week is Samurai Cop 2 Deadly Vengeance. It's 25 years later, and police detective Frank Washington is forced to team again with his long estranged partner Joe Marshall to investigate a series of assassinations in a case with ingredients they could never have imagined. Okay. In the previous episode, guys, we covered Samurai Cop, and I think it's fair to say we had a bit of fun with it. It was not a great film, but it definitely fell into the category of it's so bad it's good kind of thing. I'm flabbergasted with this one, Steve. I almost don't know where to start. It is such an improvement. It is such an improvement. It is not the it's not the cash in I was expecting at all. There are some interesting characters here. We actors, I should say. We've got what's her name? Lauren Landon in here, and we got Tommy Wiseau, of course, as well. He's fucking awful. But Bai Ling is one of the main baddies in this.
Again,
Mel Novak turns up at one point. He's a well-established actor. Goes back to he worked with likes of Charles Bronson and all sorts back in the day. There's parts of the story I just did not comprehend.
No.
But it's an experience. It absolutely is. There is improvement all over the place. Some parts actually look competently shot. There's some good ideas with the plot. I mean, one of the best ideas is setting the film 25 years after the first one. Obviously they made it 25 years later, but a lot of people would have tried to just say, oh yeah, we're just following on. But Marshall doesn't even turn up in the film for a good 20-25 minutes. He comes in quite late in. You're not sure if he's now a bad guy or not, because he's making these medallions and they're sort of tied in with all these murders and all this sort of stuff. We get the comedy relief turn up again, which it has to be a throwback to Beverly Hills Cop. It has to be a homage to Beverly Hills Cop, because he turns up again. Act of folly, it's that sort of role. Bronson Pinchot kind of thing.
Apparently, after the first film, was a massive gun runner.
That's it, yeah.
But then was found not guilty, and he's now working as a air hostess.
Yeah, exactly. He's now an air steward, and just happens to be on the same flight. We've got Bailing in a lesbian three-way at one point for some reason. Loads of sex as usual. But then there's those other bits, like when he keeps watching the TV and you get those bizarre adverts, or you get him watching a soap opera which has himself in it, trying to get information about the Citadel or something. All that stuff was really, really weird. And the way he keeps looking at the camera, but it was the way it was filmed as well, because it was filmed as if it was like shot on video in the 1980s. Those bits, as if it would. My mind's just blowing. Really, there's so much good stuff in this. Honestly, what are your thoughts?
I mean, compared to the first one, it's competent.
I'm damning it with faint praise here.
No. I mean, It is enjoyable, but it is just batshit insane. Like
It is batshit insane,
there's
but
no
in a good way.
yeah, there's no rhyme reason. I mean, Tommy Wiseau is fucking terrible. I mean, I'll be honest, Bailing, I don't think she was very good. I mean, she was
never
terrible
is.
as well.
But she's been good in one film, and that was The Crow, and everything else has been,
Yeah,
overacting like crazy.
but it works. I mean, the bit with he's Frank Washington ways with the I don't know if you've seen this bit actually. He's sat at the side of the bed with the naked girl.
Oh yeah.
And he just pulls the face that he pulled in the first film, like, ooh, it's like, right, okay, that's your throwback.
Yeah.
And then you've got so many, I mean, like I think it's a dream sequence where you've got the two naked girls going at each other's with the katanas.
Yeah.
Joe's like watching it, but it turns out that he's also the
he's like a samurai or something, isn't he?
Yeah, and you're like, what? Where's this come from? I mean, I'll be honest, none of it makes any lick of sense at all whatsoever, but it's shot competently. And also, as well, the aesthetic is so different. Because, like, the first one is like, middle of LA, on the streets, in a garden somewhere. And this is like,
They've got proper sets and things, haven't they, basically?
Yeah, it's like it looks like it's set on a spaceship or something, And
there's this thing called the Citadel, and they say, "No, you got to get to the Citadel," and it's like
the complex.
Yeah, that's the complex, and it's like it's just like an empty piece of desert that you go down a tunnel and end up in like a fun house or something. It's very, very bizarre.
Yeah, it's weird. But one thing that I remembered about it, because apparently it was crowdsourced, weren't it? Like GoFundMe or something like that. And one of Kevin Smith's best mates turns up in it.
All right.
Rob Garmin, he's the bartender. Who's that?
Yeah, because when I saw that bit, I thought this is it's basically he's a stand-up comedian just trying out his material.
Yeah. And apparently, he paid $10,000 to do that. Jesus. He loved the first one so much. He heard about it, heard about the crowdsource. Went, no, fuck it, I'm paying it. I don't care.
Right, yeah. Because that was a funny set. He's coming out with all these lines, and it's like, I can imagine this guy just being some sort of random stand-up guy, just doing his open mic bit, basically.
It's not really a stand-up. He does a podcast with Kevin called Hollywood Babylon, which I went watching in Manchester, the Apollo.
All right.
When I met Kevin Smith, and he's in a couple of Kevin Smith. He's in Yoga Hosers, in Red State. He's in James Silent Bob Reboot. Like the later ones that he's done. And he was talking about it on Hollywood Babylon. He said, "Look, the podcast said, look, I paid $10,000 to do it." He said, "There's no way I wasn't turning it down." And you go through the credits, and you've got the cast bit, and then it goes on to like the Kickstarter people, and he's the first one. His name is the first one on the top.
Awesome.
And I'm sure, when you start watching, I'm sure he mentioned he was in this. I'm sure I remember it, and then he pops up like, right, there we go. Yep, he's there.
I mean, you do get the impression that this was sort of filmed over time. Filmed as the money came in. We can shoot these things, that scene, sort of thing. Because some of it just doesn't make sense. The whole thing of, a woman comes up to Washington and says, "Oh, we found the location for this thing. It's like in the warehouse district." And it's like the warehouse district is 400 miles away in the desert for some reason. It's crazy, but at least I wasn't bored. I mean, the thing about the previous one, I was saying that when we reviewed it, the whole action bit at the end, I was bored because there's no tension. The music was all wrong for it. Oh my God, Steve, the music for this one, the music. I need the soundtrack to this film. Every song is just absolutely superb. It was just pure 80s, pop rock.
Yeah.
Oh, it was amazing.
But again, that's what it came up at the end, like songs written by blah 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 Swedish man.
Swedish band, right? But yeah, I mean, they're even like name dropping Manimal in the lyrics and stuff. I was like, but yeah, every single song, it was just like perfect for this film. I absolutely loved it. Yes, I'm totally, on the opposite side of where I was with Samurai Cop. I wholly, but the thing is, you need to watch Samurai Cop to really appreciate this one. I think to really appreciate the relationship between Marshall and Washington, because they've been through shit basically, and it comes across in the characters. It's great. I absolutely love it. Yeah, absolutely love this film. So there you go. Any thoughts from you, Rich? I know you haven't seen it yet. Surprised?
Oh, yeah, I am quite surprised. I was disappointed to not get a chance to see it. But I mean, things I'd heard from was that it was trying too hard to sort of lean into what was sort of organic to the first film, to sort of exaggerate those things. So like the facial expressions and stuff of Samurai's partner and stuff, how they sort of just did that just kind of very self-consciously, whereas in the original it was more.
It is, but it's like I say, it's the bit where he's sat on the bed with the naked girl at the side of him. And he just does the ooh. It's like, that he pulled in the first one. You're like, right, okay, fair enough. But I mean,
I'm really keen. I'm more keen to see it now than I was before, because I was curious to see it, but I was like, well, you guys are raving about it so much. I was like, I've definitely got to catch this.
It's still a crazy film, and it doesn't. There are whole bits of it where you're just sort of scratching your head, going, I have no idea what the motivation of any of the characters are at this point. Because you've got all these different factions sort of fighting each other and all this sort of stuff, and for some reason, somebody thinks it's a good idea to get Marshall back on the scene because he's disappeared for years, all this sort of stuff. But it is, it's a thing. It's just it is.
It is what it is.
It is. It's if it was a gem, it'd be priceless. It's almost critic proof. It really is. There you go. Right. Okay, so that is Samurai Cop 2. Now, there are two versions of this. We heartily recommend the version we saw, which is the Deadly Vengeance version. There is another version available, streaming and stuff like that, called The Revenge of the Samurai Cop, I believe. That version's been edited to cut down on the amount of nudity. Nudity is very much integral to the story of Samurai Cop 2, and you really don't want to be missing out on. Well, I mean, they don't even sort of edit the scene; they just sort of put stupid like objects, or they sort of blur out the the offending articles, shall we say, which is kind of worse. But anyway, so there you have it. We're not scoring it. We certainly recommend you check it out. That is the end of this week's show. So thanks, guys, for covering these films. Couple of really good ones. A couple are not so good, unfortunately, but them's the breaks. At least Samurai Cop 2 was very, very entertaining. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Twitter at the DTV Digest. Also, check us out on the Short Shots. I do believe towards the end of the month we will have a new episode being recorded of that. I believe we've got some fan films going, haven't we, Rich? Next one.
I've got a whole bunch of fan films we're going to try and get to very soon.
Yeah, awesome. So there we go. Thank you for listening. Tune in next time.
Thank you for listening. listening to the DTV Digest. Let us know your thoughts in the comments and tune in again next time.